Kenny doing this, he's pushing Ospreay over.
Oh yeah.
Right? Over. This is pushing him over. He's like saying, yeah, because this guy can do everything, but he's just not smart about it. So yeah, you guys can go watch his matches. But they're only 3.5 to me. I'm like, oh, Kenny, you're
Yeah.
literally telling people to go watch this guy
He
wrestle.
is trolling everyone, and
I
especially
love
Will
it.
Ospreay hard. Oh yeah, no, it is absolutely genius.
Hey, wrestling fans, welcome to the One Wing Wrestling Podcast, where two wrestling elitists discuss or review AEW events and wrestling news from around the world. At One Wing Wrestling, our motto is, we go where the elite go. I'm your host, Krishna, and joining me today is Mr. Bill Cutbush. Bill, how's it going?
Hello there. And it is going well. It's another nice warm day here in Toronto.
Hot day in Toronto.
Warm. It's not that hot. I've been outside. I was in my non-air conditioned car again for a while, so letting the breeze blow, it's not so bad. It's not so bad. So yeah, it's a really nice day, but I think what I'm a lot more excited about is the upcoming weekend. How's your weekend shaping up?
It's shaping up. I mean, we're celebrating my sister's baby shower, I guess, this weekend, and besides that, it's I have a long weekend because I took some time off, for my birthday itself. You need some time to relax and stuff like that. But that being said, it's going to be pretty busy because spending some time with my nieces. Obviously, the huge show that's happening Sunday, which is what we're really talking about today, and then talking about said show, right? So like I'm very excited, very pandering my expectations because as we say, when if you have high expectations, you let yourself down on that, right? So I'm going in with a steady state of mind. I'm going in with a what, the event is going to be great. I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm not afraid to say it's probably going to be better than anything else that WWE puts up. So I'm excited for that. But besides that, yeah, that's the way the weekend is shaping up for me.
Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, sounds about right. I am aware of this baby shower. May see you there. May see you there. Yeah, and the weekend it looks pretty solid, right? I mean, we've got this pay-per-view coming up, and
Mm-hmm.
this show is a little different for us here at One Winged Wrestling because normally
Mm-hmm.
we would be providing our thoughts and expectations for the coming event on the same day as we do with Dynamite. But what we decided to do with this pay-per-view is kind of get out in front of it a little bit. We're going to talk about it today. We're going to look at the matches, talk about our potential match of the night, and we're going to let you all hear that long before the pay-per-view. And then we will be back later after the pay-per-view with our review show of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but of course, what always remains the same, and most importantly, will we discover if anything on Forbidden Door reaches that all-important Omega level?
And as we've been saying, every time this question is asked, is can a show, any show, without Kenny Omega ever reach that coveted Omega level? I don't know. We have yet to reach that Omega level without Kenny around, but that kind of flows in and segues right into our first topics with keeping up with the elites and keeping up with Kenny and any type of injury updates and stuff like that. And um, interestingly, on Fightful Select, Kenny had an interview with Sean Ross Sapp. Just, I believe it was yesterday, actually. Yesterday, that would be June 23rd. Which was a great birthday present for myself. Just hearing Kenny speak, that was amazing. Getting into it, it was very interesting. Now, Bill, I'm gonna let you deep dive into it. I'm just gonna give you some of my thoughts right off the top of the actual interview. Very interesting interview, right? Sean did a great job in questions he was asking. He started off by asking about his mentality on the company, Forbidden Door, moved on to actually the game, which I was not even expecting, right? So a lot of things came out of this interview. One thing that and this kind of ties into Kenny and injuries and everything like that is Kenny literally said, he did, like, he himself thought that he was aiming for Forbidden Door as his return. He clearly states it. And he says in some sort of manner, he actually wanted to be there, like if that was on commentary or something. But even that if someone's on commentary, they have to be ring ready and something like that, just in case, obviously to hype up the fans. And he says he's just not there. And you know what, the way he said it, I'm like, you know what, I believe it. He sounded actually sincere about it. He really again hypes up the pay-per-view, saying that it's great pay-per-view. Like obviously this is just beginning. As we've said this before in our podcast, this is just the beginning. This is the first pay-per-view they're doing for Forbidden Door. Obviously things have happened, things have changed, but this is the first one of many. And he points out many similar type events, right? So I'm like, that's great to hear that. But in timelines for his return, he really didn't have a timeline for the return. He didn't really state what it was going to be, right?
Right.
Which has me to believe that, you know what, he's not lying at this point. It does sound like, you know, he's better. It's not like he is like where he was before, but he's better. He's better, right? And that's just the best case scenario. Like, I mean, he even points out, like, Sean asks him about, you know, how did you wrestle with vertigo? He's like, I've had vertigo. How did you wrestle? And, you know, just like, right, normal Omega, you find a way, right? That's basically what he said. You just, you know, this is his craft. You just find a way. You have to edit and stuff like that, and you just find a way. I think he mentioned the Kataro Crusher or whatever it was, where he jumps over the person's head and like takes them out. And he just says, you know, it's just something that he has had to practice and manage with those injuries. So again, like, if you think about what this guy's gone through, I you know, it's nothing but respect that you get for Kenny Omega on what he's talking about and what he's done for the sport. So yeah, it's like, from an injury perspective, like, it's unfortunate that he's not even going to be there in like commentary, right? So something like, you know what, even to just show up to pop the audience, it almost sounds like he's not going to be. He even talks about it. He's like, I would want to be in Chicago. I wanted to be in Chicago for this event, and he's just not ready yet. So what are your thoughts on those comments he made for that?
Well, right off the bat, it's like, you knew listening to him, he was being sincere. There is no deception in this. There is no trying to play us. He is, and the way he told the story too, he goes, you know, I went back on the road with them to help with the matches during the Owen Hart Cup.
Yeah.
And he talked about how that actually ended up setting him back a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, it doesn't mean I would have made it to Forbidden Door if I hadn't gone, but it did set me back. So he even had to end that. And for him to say that, like, some guy who is trying to throw a workout does not start traveling with the company and try to get back in it and then realize it's hurting him and go back home, and he's back home again. And that's just, it is unfortunate. But what I really appreciate about him is, one, the honesty, and two, the fact that he is legitimately taking the time to recover, because I want Kenny back in a way that he can actually do the things that he does.
Agreed.
That's incredibly important to me. So do that. I mean, listening to his stories about the vertigo, the story when he was in the hotel room, right, and he woke up and couldn't even get out of bed. He tried to stand up and the vertigo was so bad he couldn't get up, and he realized that it was just something small, like lying on his back, and the transition to getting up was much tougher than lying on his side, and how he had to work that into the ring, because if he was on his back too long in the ring, the vertigo would kick in. I mean, wrestlers spend a lot of time on their back, so he had to totally adjust his style. I mean, it shows you two things. One, that's just crazy that he was working with that level of vertigo at all. And two, what a master of his craft is, that he can make those adjustments. Like, there's almost no one else in the world, I think, that could have worked with the kinds of injuries he had and still pulled it off, where we didn't even realize this guy was working hurt, which is just crazy when you think about it. So yeah, I'm sad he won't be there. I really respect him for saying he doesn't want to take any spotlight or spot away from any of the talent there. And he doesn't want to come back till he's ready to come back and actually give himself, you know, his best shot. So yeah, a lot of respect, a lot of hope. And I think now that I know for a fact he's not going to be there, this actually lets me sit back and enjoy Forbidden Door a lot more. There is none of this like background, could he, would he, maybe not. Totally cool now. He's not going to be there, but we've got some really great matches. So that's what I thought about that part.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, I respect him for taking the time to actually, and that's what it was, right? It was, he agreed to have this interview to clear the air, because there's a lot of things floating about. Is Kenny Omega going to return? Is he going to be fighting in Brian Danielson's place, stuff like that? all that stuff he just squashed immediately. And kind of like it makes sense. Like he even knows that this is such an important pay-per-view with his presence there, but it's just not worth it. And hopefully this opens the eyes of Tony Khan and some of the wrestlers. Like, you know what? Maybe had we handled this Vertigo earlier, maybe if you know what, there's no. I loved Kenny's run, but is his run worth it now? Thinking back with all the stuff, right? And the answer is no, it's not. Like I loved it. Should we have looked at this stuff earlier? Probably, right? And he may
Right.
have injured himself further during this run. So, yeah, you know what? Amazing run, probably the best run of a champion in AEW's since its beginnings. And I get the pressure. It wasn't just AEW. He was taking belts from everywhere. He was the belt collector. So think about that. It wasn't just AEW this guy was wrestling at, right? He was wrestling at AAA, Impact, like everywhere you could think of. He had the chance to wrestle. He wrestled. So you know what? It sucks. It really does suck, but it is what it is, right? It is what it is. So we're it's hoping for a speedy recovery. Sounds like he's getting back. Sounds like it's probably going to be back in the fall, which is great. As he said, I believe him. He can come back in the fall and win Wrestler of the Year. So, if anyone could do that, it is Kenny Omega. Now, moving past the injury, he started talking about New Japan and him leaving with the Bucks, him making the decision to leave, to obviously pursue the opening of AEW and so forth, and the pivot that New Japan had to take in terms of who the stars were going to be. Now, this is where things get a little tricky, right? Because I think, Bill, you pointed out, and I agree with you, that what he starts saying now sounds like a work, sounds like a wait a minute, Kenny. Because the thing about Kenny is, as much as he disagrees and he has an opinion about stuff, he will tell you, but he'll keep it to himself for the most part. Like he does kind of keep stuff to himself. So the fact that you had pointed out in a previous podcast, so way back when, that Will Ospreay and him have some sort of feud going on, but we just didn't understand the feud. And I was like, yeah, it's probably going to end there. And then listening to this interview and Kenny talking about who took over when the Bucks and him left New Japan and who New Japan chose as the person to take over. And this was a choice between Jay White and Will Ospreay. And he said, actually, I did capture something that he did say about this. And he said that the problem is Will is working harder than anyone, but Jay is working smarter than anyone, right? He clearly states that New Japan chose right when they chose Jay White, because Jay White was able to change his character, evolve, and become that New Japan, as the champion right now. Great on the mic and everything like that. He said the problem with Will Ospreay, and this is where things get a little tricky, is that Will Ospreay can put on 5-star matches, but it almost felt like that's what Will Ospreay is concerned about. He's not concerned about where he is and who he's doing this for. He's just concerned about these 5-star matches. And he points out that, Will Ospreay's happy with wrestling on the indie scene. And I was like, what is going on right now? Right. And he's like, yeah, he's happy with wrestling in front of a couple hundred people. And I'm like, this doesn't sound like normal Kenny. This sounds like wrestler Kenny, right? This is so I was watching, not watching, I was listening to the interview, and it's just very interesting the words he chose in terms of trying to describe Ospreay. And even though he's like, I feel like I'm burying myself here, I'm digging my hole deeper, we still went with it. And Sean Ross Sapp was kind of calling him out. You say you're still kind of saying it still, right? He's like, no, he's like, I have respect for Will Ospreay, but he's just that guy. He's not at that level. And I was like, oh my God, what is happening here? So
Yeah.
this has to be a work. There's no way that this, what is it? What is Will Ospreay? I'll be honest here. What does Will Ospreay have to do with Kenny Omega? Nothing. Absolutely nothing, right? Like in real life, like Tyler Smith and I don't know what Will Ospreay's real name is, nothing to do with each other, right? So the fact that Kenny actually made a point to discuss this triggered that in me. And I'm like, there's something up with this, and I just don't know what it is. But what were your thoughts on this?
Well, I think it is, as you noted, I'd already said, I think it's a work, but it's a masterfully done one because he started it off with that. Well, there's Jay White, and he really, you know, stood up because he said there were those two guys that were going to take over
Mm-hmm.
our position as like the foreigners coming to
Yeah.
New Japan, right? And it's going to be Jay White or Will Ospreay. And Jay, as you said, stood up. He changed himself, became the company guy, working
Yes.
smart, revamped his character, that kind of thing. But Will didn't do that. He said, like, Will wasn't thinking outside the
Mm-hmm.
box, right? He wasn't
Mm-hmm.
thinking of how NJ, like New Japan, would want to invest in him. And that he's had 20 very forgettable 5-star matches. And then
Yeah,
he went
sorry, I missed
into,
that one. I missed that.
yeah,
You're right. He did
and
say that.
he went into saying how, Will's earned those performances, but you know what? The rating system has
Yep.
changed, right? And he's
Since
going,
the stars or all
yeah,
stars,
well,
yeah.
he's going, matches back then, they were just more memorable. Like when I started getting them, and Sean Ross Sapp called him out saying, you're kind of little broing him, like good
Yeah.
job, little bro. Right? And
Yeah.
it's true. That's exactly what that sounded like. Like, way to get 5-star matches in an era where and he go, oh, and then the comment that Kenny said about, I'm a Will Ospreay thinks he's at the top because he's like getting ratings from one guy.
One
And then
guy.
and
Yep.
Kenny says, I grew up after 5 or 6 of those. It's like, 5 stars to one guy, it might be 3.5
Yep.
stars to me, right? It was just this constant needling at Will Ospreay for his
Condescending.
matches, right? It was so condescending. I'm
Uh,
mature, you're not. Dave Meltzer might think you're having 5-star matches. I think they're more like
three,
3.5
three and a half.
star matches. He is totally working it, right? And I mean, Will Ospreay's been responding in kind too. It's the kind of comments he said about how Kenny really treated him like since he left, and how he didn't really support the guys in New Japan and stuff. And it's really interesting the way this kind of feud has been building up without them even looking at each other in a wrestling ring.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, if it's real, God help everyone. But if it's a work, and I think it's a work, it's going to be an extremely good match when they get there. Because, Kenny pointed out, as you rightfully said, this isn't the first, or this isn't the last event they're going to be doing like this.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, yeah, that was very interesting. And I look forward to seeing what becomes of this, right? Like, as he said, Jay works smarter, but Will puts in the work that would kill any other person. So it's like he's not burying his ability to wrestle by any stretch. He's just burying his style,
Well, not even that.
right?
He's bearing his intelligence as well. He's kind of like, yeah, you can go out there and kill yourself. It doesn't matter. You're just not doing it in a smart way,
Yeah, it's like
right?
3.5
Yeah,
stars.
and that's the thing. Like Will Ospreay has become very quickly like my second favorite wrestler,
Mhm.
and to see like just to think that these two are going to go at it eventually. And no, they fought before, but like at where they are right now, Kenny at the top of the hill,
Yeah,
Will almost there, in New Japan,
yeah, yeah.
right? These two eventually, like they're building a feud. That's
Yep.
exactly what they're doing. Like they're not stupid,
Yep.
right?
But what's interesting is that Kenny's right in a way, though, because who has really stuck out to me recently?
Mm-hmm.
Jay White. Because first of all, his whole catalyst thing,
Mm-hmm.
that's so smart.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the reason there is even an AEW. If I hadn't beat Kenny to take that belt,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like, I'm why you have AEW. I am the catalyst. I am the guy who heads New Japan. I'm the catalyst for AEW. Like, he's so good at positioning. He's smart. He's
Mm-hmm.
so good at positioning himself at the top of the pile. He's a really good representative as a champion, right? And he just seems so cunning. And so, I've really admired his character.
Yeah, and I would agree with that. And the weird part is that you're right. Everything Kenny said was 100% correct. Like, yes, I love the character of Jay White, but if you were to ask me, who do I think is a better wrestler?
Well, yeah.
100% it's gonna be Will Ospreay,
Well,
right?
no, absolutely.
And the problem is that is to me sometimes, and I think this is kind of like where like you love the entire package of like the presentation and the storytelling of that, and sometimes I'm okay with the storytelling, but I want to see what they do in the ring, right? It's like a Ray Phoenix, right? I think Ray
Hmm.
Phoenix is one of the best wrestlers in the world. Is his storytelling that great? No, not really, right? Is he great in the mic? No, because obviously there's a language barrier there. So yes, I understand that. But I've always put the wrestling in front of everything, and that's why CM Punk is like your favorite wrestler, because he's great in the ring and he knows how to. He's probably the best on the mic.
Right.
For me, with Kenny, it was always about the wrestling. Everything else that came afterwards with like his personality, those were just bonuses. I'm like, who is this guy? He's
Right.
amazing, right? So that's why I see Will Ospreay now, and I'm like, I'm just so enamored. But I'm like, I just want to know more about this. And I made the comment last week. I said, we've seen Will Ospreay wrestle 3 times already for AEW, and I've been blown away, absolutely blown away. I know almost nothing about him, but I am blown away by him. So even though, yeah, you're right, Jay White works the mic so well, but if you ask me who I care more about, I'll be honest with you. For me, it's always going to be Will Ospreay. I think he is a champion, but you're totally right. It's not only about the in ring; it's about the entire package, right? And Will, as much as I've seen him wrestle like 3-4 times now, I don't really know his personality and who he is. Like I don't even know if I've heard him talk, to be completely honest with you. Right. So that's the difference. And I'm glad Kenny called it out, because it's almost as if Kenny doing this, he's pushing Osprey over,
Oh yeah.
right? Over. This is pushing him over. He's like saying, yeah, because this guy can do everything, but he's just not smart about it. So yeah, you guys can go watch his matches, but they're only 3.5 to me. I'm like, oh, Kenny, you're
Yeah.
literally telling people to go watch this guy
He
wrestle.
is trolling everyone, and
I
especially
love
Will
it.
Ospreay hard.
Love
Oh yeah, no,
it.
it is absolutely genius because, first of all, we're all going to go check out Ospreay, but also think about the number of times that you have seen Kenny Omega wrestle someone who is not like a top level star
Yeah,
and wrestle like crazy with them, give them a good long
yeah,
match, the offense they can get against him and stuff like, oh, Darby Allin,
yeah,
right? I mean, just some of the matches he's had against guys like that, and they're phenomenal matches, and he lets the guy shine,
shine.
right?
Agreed.
And it does so much to elevate the guy. Right? A really good match against Kenny Omega means something,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you can see, but here's the interesting part, right? Like Kenny was blasting Will Ospreay for his, independent scene stuff, the kind of stuff that Kenny does all the time
Mm-hmm.
anyway. And so it's like pot calling kettle black first. But look at the kind of people. Nick Wayne.
Yeah,
Why did Will Ospreay have to wrestle Nick Wayne?
exactly.
Right? He's
Exactly.
doing the same thing and also wrestled total heel style, right? The
Mm-hmm.
crowd was so behind Nick Wayne in that
Mm-hmm.
GCW match, which if you guys haven't checked it out, I told you last time to go find it. Please go find that match. And you'll see what I'm talking about. It's like he is so good at allowing that young guy to shine,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Nick Wayne is a phenomenal talent, and the fact that he
Yep.
wrestled at that level with Will Ospreay means something. That wasn't just
Yep.
about let's do a lot of really cool moves. There was
Mm-hmm.
a lot of storytelling in that match,
Yep.
right? So Kenny's strong because Kenny knows that.
Mm-hmm.
He is
Of course he
way
does.
too smart not to know that. So
Will Osprey
yeah.
is the younger Kenny Omega.
Hmm.
Like everything Osprey is doing is exactly what Omega's done in his past. Omega wrestled an 8-year-old girl or something like that. He wrestled like a blow up doll. Kenny Omega's done all of this ridiculousness before.
Hmm.
So him to call it out and saying that's below me, no, that's exactly you, right? And he knows that. He
Hmm.
understands that. And Osprey knows that too. That's why he's trying to put, if Kenny Omega really wanted to push Jay White, even though Jay White doesn't need pushing, he would have called out Jay White.
Yep.
Jay White doesn't need it. Kenny knows who needs it, or doesn't. I don't think Osprey needs it, but hey, Kenny has chosen Osprey, right? And that's he's. I'm 100% sure he's seeing exactly what we're talking about in Osprey, and he wants to help him
Yep.
like get to that pinnacle, right?
Right.
No pun intended, but like
Think about Bret Hart and Stone Cold Steve Austin
exactly.
and the feud they had that ended in Steve Austin becoming one of the biggest stars in wrestling ever,
Yep.
right? And the guy who got him there was also one of the biggest stars in
Mm-hmm.
wrestling ever, right? And before that feud, that wasn't the case with Steve Austin.
Yep.
After that feud, You know,
It
with
was.
that double turn at WrestleMania and stuff, that's what happened, right?
Yep.
So yeah, I think this has a comparison to something like that. If we see that Will Ospreay, Kenny Omega, and I mean, wouldn't that be a great way for him to come back in the fall?
100%.
And that this becomes it, like the minute he returns, the guy who comes out and says, "I finally got you in a ring,"
If you
right?
want match of the year for
Yeah.
a return match, I wouldn't even be hesitant to put money down on that, saying, you know what? I'm guaranteeing this is probably going to be match of the year.
Oh yeah, and Jim Cornette will give it 3.5 stars.
Yeah, no. Jim Cornette will make like disgusting comments about Kenny Omega, and then say, this match sucked and it's not wrestling. And Jim Cornette can just shut up because I'm so sick and tired of him.
Let's face it, the guy is like a hardcore wrestling traditionalist who
Yeah,
I think he doesn't realize wrestling tradition has changed.
yeah, 100%.
So yeah, anyway. Yeah, so I mean I think that's what's going to happen with Will Ospreay
Yeah.
and him.
And then to round out the interview with Kenny is, which I was kind of shocked that Sapp asked, was the, hey, do you have any updates on the video game? And I was like, wait, like, yeah, I remember the video game. Like, it's something that I'm very, very interested in. I didn't know the release dates, though. I didn't know that there were release dates even planned. And Kenny said, it sucks, but like the Ukes guys, so this is the Ukes developer, they were kind of happy, or not really happy, but when they found out that he's injured, they realized they had more time with him. He could actually help them more. And he's like, things that they started churning out in 24 hours, he was amazed with. So he said, it looks like they're still on track for a release this year, which I was like, wait, when did they say that was going to re-release this year? So I know, Bill, you would ask me if there were any games that I was excited about. Well, this game I am 100% excited about being released, because if done right, and in the vein of No Mercy and games before it, I'm just hyped. This is like a Forbidden Door with Kenny Omega in it for me, right? I am so excited. So that one caught me off guard. I was like, what? I didn't even know that was coming up, but I am very, very excited for that.
You and me both. Okay, I don't get excited for a lot of games, but you know me, I love wrestling games.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the few games that I'll actually go out of my way to play. All right. I mean, I used to buy the WWE 2K games
Yep.
just so I could sit and play with the creative suite. Right? I spent so much time just creating wrestlers and
Yep.
stuff. It was crazy. I barely ever actually fought. But I do remember the No Mercy game. And I remember how fun that was,
Yep.
right? And all the times we've had, and like us and Arf and them sitting around playing the wrestling games, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love wrestling games. So I'm excited. If this is coming out, I will be picking up a copy. And it's the
Yeah.
rare game that I'm like, I need this now.
Need this
Unless
game.
of course it doesn't function on a PS4. If it's PS5 exclusive, then
There
I'm
probably
screwed.
is. I see this being a PS4 game. That's what do they call it?
Forwards compatible?
Well, I was gonna say forwards compatible, but from the PS5 perspective, they're like, it's backwards compatible.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
It better be, or I will be one sad puppy because I'm not buying a PS5
I doubt it.
just to,
I
just to
doubt it.
play this.
I doubt it. I doubt. Like it makes sense because it's been in production for such a long time that it is PS4.
I'll be
right?
coming over to your place and going, can you just go somewhere else? I'm going to play this game for 3 or 4 hours. Okay.
All good. All good.
Yeah. So no, I'm quite hyped for that too. I can't wait to see what they come up with.
Mm-hmm.
So that wasn't the only interview, though, that we had this week.
Mm-hmm.
On Renee Paquette's podcast, which is now known as The Sessions, she actually interviewed her husband, Jon Moxley, which is the first interview he's given since he went into rehab back in October. And there were some interesting things I thought that came out of this podcast. In particular, I mean, it was good from my perspective, hearing him talk about his experiences, why he went into rehab, how he's dealt with since, how he feels since, how tough it was to get back into wrestling at first, how it's so different wrestling sober versus, wrestling. And when he described his life when he was drinking, it was just like, wow, the inability to actually stop drinking and what that was doing, because he had the same year they'd had a baby. I mean, when he actually went into rehab, apparently it was the same time they were moving in a week. They had a 4-month-old baby, and he just came home one night and said, I'm going to rehab. Wow. Shut off his phone, didn't basically say anything at all, right? He just told Tony Khan, I'm going into rehab, and Tony was like, okay, go.
Okay.
Right, totally supportive. So he did, and he said even in rehab when they tried to offer him his phone back, he's like, "Nah, you keep it."
Oh wow,
So
good for
yeah,
him.
he
Good
was
on
like,
him.
I don't need it. So he didn't want to check anything. Like, well, he's very much that kind of guy. I don't know how many Jon Moxley like interviews you've listened to, but he's very much that kind of I just don't give a flying crap kind of guy. Who you see on screen with Jon Moxley is very much Jon Moxley.
Well, I figure that he like Jon Moxley knows his triggers, right?
Yes.
So he knows himself, and that's why I like with him saying, "Take away my phone. I don't need it. I don't want it." Is he knows exactly what it's going to do to him. So that's why he's honest with himself. He knows who he is. Like he's not like this guy in WWE anymore who's trying to figure out who he is. Like he knows who he is now, right? So respect for doing that and understanding. So yeah, again, as you said, I'm not surprised at
Yeah,
all.
I know he's gotten 8 months sober now.
Mhm.
He's completely happy about it. It was really cool listening to him because it sounds like a guy who's found his way now. But
Mhm.
part of the one of the other things he talked about though was the way that matches, or at least how the Blackpool Combat Club came to be. And I found that really interesting because it was a comment on how AEW is booked, at least when you're talking about guys like Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley. Because the way it came about was they were just going to, like, Danielson and Mox were going to have a segment, and they had to sort of come up with on their own what they were going to do in that. And Danielson, I think it was Danielson, floated the idea. Well, why don't we talk about a team up, right? And Mox was like, yeah, okay, that sounds fine. And so they went out, and that's when Danielson cut that promo. And Mox was like, yeah, I'm going to be like, the bad guy here, and I'm just going to say no, and that'll be the end of it, right? But when Danielson was cutting the promo, Mox was listening to him in the ring going, wow, these are really good ideas. I like this. Right. So he began to think to himself, this might have some merit. So what ended up happening was
Mhm.
after that whole confrontation, which is why he didn't say no completely. And after that, they actually talked about it and ended up going to Tony and saying, this idea. And Tony was like, yeah, that's fine. Go ahead and do that. And that it was funny because Mox was like, when he heard William Regal was now available, he went to Danielson and said, hey, why don't we get Regal? And Danielson's way ahead of you. We've already talked to him. Tony's got him, and he's coming, right? So it was funny how the wrestlers, and he mentioned this too. He goes, if you have ideas, you just go to Tony and pass it by him, and if he okays it, you go, right? That a lot of the booking is the wrestlers coming up with their own ideas, their own plots, their own spin on things, and Tony puts the stamp on it, which is because he said there are no writers,
Mhm.
there is no creative.
Okay.
It's totally different than WWE. There isn't a single writer that works for AEW.
Oh
There is
wow.
nothing
Okay.
called creative.
Creative.
Nothing. It's the
That's
wrestlers come up with their ideas and they pass them by Tony. Tony is just the final say on what's going to happen.
which is insane because what did we just say the other day? That
Mm-hmm.
promo Christian cut, the Miro promo,
Yep.
and Danielson. We're like, why doesn't this guy talk more?
Mm-hmm.
And this is all the wrestlers. Like,
Yeah.
I'm
Apparently,
actually
well,
like, I'm so impressed right now.
Danielson's promo about forming the Blackpool
Yeah.
Combat Club was like this ad lib thing he came up with just to sell this. I think Danielson must have been sitting on the idea. It'd be great to be able to interview both these guys and go, can you go into more detail about exactly how you came up with this idea? Because I find like, me, I'm a writer. So a lot of the writing process, the creative process, I find it very fascinating.
Mhm.
And listening to Mox talk yesterday about,
How
the
it's done.
creative process, it clicked. I was like, that is amazing, right? And that look at the product you can come up with when you let the guys who know what they're doing and know what a good wrestling story is come up with the stories. I'm sure Tony probably has a lot, or says like, hey guys, why don't you try this instead, or I don't like that, because I know he can nix things too, right? I mean, he's got the final say, and he probably has a lot of influence on how a story's going to unfold or something like
Agreed.
that. But a lot of these ideas, well, at least from the top wrestlers, guys like Danielson and Moxley, who know what they're doing. I don't know how much like a Wheeler Yuta could impact it, but the whole thing with Wheeler Yuta, that was Mox wrestling him and going, this guy would be
This guy's
perfect.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And that all just came about organically. I mean, Yuta was a replacement for Brian Kendrick. That night when
Oh.
Kendrick,
Oh
yeah,
yeah. You're
something
right.
happened
You're
with
right.
Kendrick and Yuta replaced him. And so that all just came about organically too. And they're like, this guy works. It's right. Well, like Mark said, a lot of wrestling is right place, right time.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. Like if you think about it, like I know this is not WWE, and this is something that the former WWE wrestlers will always say like, this is why we're joining. I also thought there would be some type of creative, right? Now, I wonder, and I know I'm deep diving here a bit. I wonder if this is why, so this is something that kind of forced Cody out as well, right? Because as we know, we like Cody Rhodes. Okay, we like him. Like, we may not like his wrestling, we may not like his matches, but whatever, right? I like Cody Rhodes for what he's done for the business. But I also know Cody Rhodes likes control, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if Tony Khan's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm good with it as long as they can come to me, and if it works, it works. Bypassing people, right? Kind of thing. But anyways, besides that, like this is great. Like I seriously thought that AEW had creative, some type of creative. Now knowing they don't, like, I'm more impressed with the wrestlers, and I'm more impressed with the promos that they come up with. And then maybe this kind of explains why, Jade Cargill and some of those other people have terrible promos, because maybe they need writers. But
Yeah.
but these other guys, like, letting them go out and talk. And this is something I talked to you about previously was, yes, I appreciate William Regal being there, but I also appreciate Danielson and Moxley talking for themselves. Yuta,
Right.
Yuta, yes, Yuta probably needs some help, but those two guys definitely do not need help. And sometimes seeing them just like pace back and forth in the background, I'm like, you're wasting them. Like, Brian Danielson spoke for the first time on Wednesday in like over a month or more. And what he said, I'm sorry, was better than the things I've heard Regal say recently. Right? So just hearing that, he's like, guys, I came out of the heel entrance. You think I'm gonna tell you this? I'm like, you're amazing. I love you so much. Right? Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. And you know what? These are the kind of things that are going to keep wrestlers like a Bryan Danielson, like a Jon Moxley, and anyone else who's kind of been under control for such a long period of time. Yeah, that's awesome. That's actually pretty.
He was talking
awesome.
about William Regal showing up and how he was just kind of like wandering around going, well, what's going on? And Mox had to explain to him, there isn't creative. There's not going to be these meetings. There's, and I loved what he said about Regal too, and the value that Regal brings, because he says, Regal's not an official coach, but he shows up every morning early and starts to work with the guys, helping them out, showing guys stuff. And he goes, all of them, it doesn't matter. He's always in there with the young guys, showing them the ropes and stuff like that, right? And it really is, because the value of a guy like that is just immeasurable. Someone with his experience, his ring knowledge, his storytelling ability, to be able to like take all these guys like a Wheeler Yuta and just show them the ropes, right? And it was really interesting. I would suggest anybody go check out the interview, because it's a really good, well, Mox is always a good interview because he's just so honest.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was talking to his wife, so I think that also adds a certain extra layer of comfort and honesty with the whole thing. So I found the whole thing worth it. So if anybody wants to go check that out, by all means do so.
I will check it out. I didn't even know there was an interview, so I will check it out. And that's the one thing, Jon Moxley, with Jon Moxley, you're not getting played, you're not getting work. Like, this is literally just Jon Moxley, right? He's like Eddie Kingston. Do Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston know that wrestling is fake?
Right.
No.
Well, I mean, it was interesting too, because Jon said the night he went into rehab, or even before that, he knew he was getting bad because Eddie was calling him after he did some independent dates going, "Are you okay, man?" Right. And he was talking about how Eddie was there to support his wife while he was in rehab, and talking about what a good guy Eddie is. Right. So it's clear, like, their relationship they show you on the camera actually exists outside of the ring. It's just, it was so cool to see that. So yeah, but I mean, props to Eddie Kingston too for being, I mean, yeah, the odds are, do both of them know wrestling is fake? Is probably because for them this is life, so
which is, what, honestly, we appreciate it because it's real. Right. And we laugh all the time because these promos are so awesome, so ridiculous. But yeah, no, that's great. I'm glad Moxley came out, and he didn't owe it to anybody saying why he went to rehab, what was happening, and when it happened. Like, he gave a timeline of everything. He didn't owe it to anybody, but he doesn't care. Like, you know what, this is who he is, because again, as I said, he knows who he is. Right. So love it or hate it, this is it, right? And he's one of AEW's top stars, and he's doing this by being himself,
Yep.
right? So I may not be the biggest Jon Moxley fan. I'll be completely honest. I think some of his matches are a little bit boring, but he's changed his wrestling style a bit, which I've appreciated, and he's always been fully honest. Like I hated him in AEW. Sorry, AEW, WWE. I hated him. I thought he was the worst out of all of the Shield. I thought that his characters after that were just terrible, and that wasn't even his fault. But watching him reinvent himself or just being himself in AEW, like he's fun. He's a fun character, and I 100% understand why the audience loves him.
Right.
So I stand behind Jon Moxley. So
yes, absolutely, absolutely. And oh, he was talking too about being angry at Tony Khan at one point.
Yes, yeah.
Because at first he wasn't even going to be on Forbidden Door.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
And he talked a lot during this podcast too about his relationship with New Japan and how he was the one guy who, even during the pandemic, continued to work for New Japan. He was defending his US IWGP title during the pandemic, right? And it was a lot of his continuing to keep the lines of communication open, because he was like, I don't care if like the big wigs at New Japan are mad with not getting along with the guys at AEW or whatever. It wasn't something he was going to worry about. He had these things he wanted to do and he went and did them because that's his style, right? I don't care. I'm just going to go do it. And he kept the door open. Right. And he was talking about that. He goes, of all the people who kept this forbidden door, he goes like,
it was him.
And he said Hiroshi Tanahashi was the one who actually coined the term forbidden door.
Oh, right? Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Mox talked about all the different guys he got to wrestle in New Japan. And the one guy he never did was Tanahashi. And he's always wanted to wrestle Tanahashi. Right. And he goes, all the stuff he did and how he just kept going with it, etc. And then went to Tony at one point and said, I've got this match with Nagata I think it was Nagata one weekend. And Tony said to him, why don't we just do it on Dynamite? And Mox was like, there we go. Right, great, let's do it. And that sort of started the whole process.
Yeah.
And now they have a formal relationship, right?
That's awesome.
It's great. And what happened though is he was upset that he wasn't on Forbidden Door. Well, like not necessarily upset, because he was kind of over it. He's like, I'm not going to allow that kind of stuff to bother me too much. He's like, I'm over it. I'm going to enjoy it. I'm happy for all the guys that are on it. But then he got the call to go work with Tanahashi because CM Punk went down, and Tony Khan said to him on the phone, apparently, now this is of course Moxley's version. He goes, I'm so glad that I vetoed that match a bunch of times already. And Moxley was like, what? What do you mean you vetoed the match a bunch of times already, right? Like, he's like, he was ecstatic to get to wrestle Tanahashi now, and it's all worked out for the best in the end. But he's like, he was a little mad at Tony Khan because he had vetoed him wrestling Tanahashi.
We talk about Tony Khan sometimes and his decision making, and who knows? Maybe he was trying to make a joke that came off wrong as usual.
Maybe, yeah.
Even if CM Punk was not injured, how do you not have Jon Moxley, one of your top stars who's not injured, on the pay-per-view? Would have blown my mind. I think the fans would have absolutely lost their mind, because they're like, wait, you do know Jon Moxley exists in AEW for a reason, right? Yes. Like, are you're going to tell me that you're going to put some random people from AEW in matches, but you're not going to put Jon Moxley? Yeah, Tony Khan, like, good job on that one. But Jon Moxley, like, I get it. I get why that may have irked you a bit. So yes. I'm again, I stand behind Jon Moxley. yeah,
I heard that. I'm like, I can understand why he'd be a little pissed. He's been wanting Tanahashi for literally 3 years. So yeah, interesting. Anyway, speaking of New Japan, I believe we also have an injury update, do we not?
We do. And this was announced just, I'm going to say today it was announced. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the Fatal 4-Way match to determine the new title, which totally, I lost train of thought on what the title is called right now. The Eastern Seaboard title. I don't know what
All
it's
Atlantic
called.
Championship.
All Atlantic
AEW
whatever,
All Atlantic Championship.
Whatever. That new title that they're throwing in. Mm-hmm. Tomohiro Ishii has been injured. Yes. He's no longer in the match. Now I'll be completely honest. Okay. I don't watch a lot of New Japan wrestling. So when Tomohiro Ishii was announced, and I've seen him wrestle. He's been in AEW before.
Yep.
I was like, okay, if someone's taking the pin, it's gonna be Tomohiro Ishii, right? If someone's getting pinned, it's gonna be him.
Hmm.
Now the replacement's gonna be the new guy, Bill. What's his name? What is his name?
Clark Connors.
Clark
Clark
Connors, and this
Connors.
is who Ishii fought to
Yes.
advance into the finals of the tournament, I should say.
Yes. Yeah.
So
And
he's taking his place. I
hmm
don't know much about Clark Connors. You're going to give us a brief,
yeah, a
breakdown of
quick
who he
little
is.
thing. Yeah.
So now I'm like, okay, so Clark Connors is taking the pinfall for this one. Um,
Maybe.
but yeah, yeah. Tell us more about this Clark Connors person.
Well, he's an American wrestler, and he's been with New Japan for a little while. He was in the Young Lion system up until recently. And if you know
Mhm.
anything about the Young Lion system, it's sort of like the rookie system they have in New Japan. You kind of have to earn your keep there. So, you join New Japan, you're a young lion. You have to wear black trunks and no knee pads. Like they have a whole uniform for the young lions. They have a young lion cup. And he in 2020, he won the Lions Break crown. And each of the young lions, there's different groups of young lions. There's actually one in LA. So they have an LA dojo for New Japan Pro Wrestling. And they have a group of young lions who train there. And there's a very regimented training. They have to get up at certain times. They're the ones who set up the ring. They're the ones who break down the ring. They're the ones who clean. They're the ones who carry the other wrestlers' bags, kind of thing. These are all things I've heard that the young lions have to do. So he was one of them for quite a while, and he won their break crown in 2020. He's only 29 years old.
Is he really? Oh, I didn't
Yep.
even. When I saw his picture, I'm like, oh, he's a seasoned vet, but I guess he's only 29. All right.
Well, I mean, he has been around for a little while,
Okay.
right? But I mean, he's just gotten out of the Young Lion system recently. So we could be in for a pleasant surprise with this guy. I have never seen him wrestle myself, so I don't know how good he is, but we'll see. I'm pleasantly surprised, and let's see. I mean, I've seen Ishii wrestle, but I've never seen Clark Connors wrestle. So for me, this is kind of like, okay, cool. Let's see what he can do with these other three guys that are in the ring, right?
Yeah, that's good. I mean, like, there's a reason why he was in the tournament. I mean, like, they're not just throwing random people into it. That's probably some good news. The match itself, like, I guess we're going to start talking about the matches anyway. So,
Yep.
is there any news left that we need to talk about today?
I don't believe so. No.
Perfect. So you know what? Since we already started talking about this match, let's just start off our predictions and our thoughts with this match, because we already
Sure.
started talking about it.
Yep.
So this match, again, this is for the All Atlantic Championship, the
Yes,
made up
brand new
championship.
belt. Yes.
Yeah, and it's gonna be Pac versus Miro versus Malachi Black and versus now Clark Connors.
Yep.
That's a pretty stacked wrestling match by itself. As I said on the last week, when Malachi Black advanced, there were moves that he was doing that I had never seen him do before, like flips and all this other stuff. And I'm like, wow, this guy, like, I really love Malachi Black. He's so awesome.
Yes.
You add Pac to that equation. The one person who, again, beat Kenny Omega because Kenny Omega thought that he was above Pac, right?
Hmm.
So the fact that Kenny Omega thought Pac wasn't on his level, and Pac took full advantage and put on a 5 to 6 star match. I will grade it myself, and beat Kenny Omega fair and square, right? And then you add in, so I said, Miro. Sorry, Miro.
Hmm.
Now, my thing about Miro is I think he's probably one of the best people in AEW right now on the mic, just about his god and being the Redeemer. Like, I love this character, Redeemer. In the ring, I do have an issue recently where I think he's great, but he has so much talent. He can go above that. And I don't know what it is. Maybe, again, take it back, Miro. If you're listening, I apologize. He's just coming off a huge neck injury, so really, I should cut the guy some slack. But like, I always go back to the Miro, and it wasn't Miro, but whatever he was, Rusev versus Roman Reigns, and that match blew me away because I'd never seen Miro wrestle like that before, and he took it to Roman Reigns. And credit where credit's due, like, that was a phenomenal match. So, I'm hoping now with Connors added to it. Again, I don't know anything about Connors. I don't know what's like how well he's going to do. And as you said, it's going to be he wrestles well and it's going to be a good match. I feel like from this, like, who am I going to predict that's going to be to win this belt? So I actually had a prediction, and I said I wasn't going to say it until our show today. And my prediction for this match was, and I said the Malachi Black match, the camera kept panning into the audience and it kept showing Kip Sabian there. And I was like, why did it keep showing Kip Sabian so much in this match? And then Miro came on the jump, whatever they call it, on the Jumbotron, whatever the hell they're calling it, and did his thing. I have a feeling Miro is going to dominate in this match, but I don't think he's going to win it. I think, and this is my prediction, it's probably not going to happen. I think we are going to see a returning Kip Sabian interfere, take out Miro. Now, if that happens, then my prediction for the winner, and I actually hope he does win this, is Malachi Black. I have a feeling Malachi Black is winning this belt because it adds some gold to his stable, right? Like, I mean, let's be honest, like the Death Triangle, they have some gold. Like, I mean, they won the championships, like the tag teams, stuff like that. They've won the AAA and stuff like that. They have some gold. They've had some. Malachi Black has had nothing in AEW now. The other people in this match, except for Clark Connors, has had some gold around them, except for Malachi. So my prediction, Malachi Black, winner.
Okay, sure. I'm looking at the four going, if you're right about Miro, then yes. And I think you are right about Miro. There's been way too many indications. This is a tough one to call. For one thing, I know it's going to be a great match. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on. There's going to be a lot of good moves. It might even be hard to keep up with at some points. Four-way matches are sometimes incredibly chaotic. Yeah, I don't think Clark Connors is winning. But Miro, Malachi, or Pac? I'm going to go with Pac. I can't see the House of Black needing a title yet. So I'm going to go with Pac because I think he is sort of amazing with a belt. And I could see him being the kind of guy that Malachi Black may have to work now at beating. And it continues the feud between the House of Black and the Death Triangle. Yeah. And now there's gold involved. So, but then again, do you want the good guy with the gold, right? So maybe you put it on Black because then I'm like I'm hedging all my bets. Maybe you put it on Black so that Pac can go after Black.
Got to make a decision. You got to make a decision. So you're saying it's going to be Pac is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's going to be Pac. I'm going to stick with that. So you went with Malachi. I went Pac.
Black. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So the next match then on the card is one that was just added. And in fact, at the time we're recording this, Rampage hasn't aired. But coming out of the spoilers on Rampage, and I won't spoil any of the matches, don't worry, there was a match put together that we're going to talk about right now, which is Swerve in Our Glory, Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee versus Suzuki Goons, El Desperado, and Yoshinobu Kanemaru.
Oh, that should be a fun match. Yeah, so I love Swerve Strickland, and like he works so well with Keith Lee. I'm going to predict this is going to be a fantastic match. Like I think their double teams are so cool, Swerve and Lee. So I think that for this one, now here's the problem: two things can happen, right? And I hope that AEW doesn't do the WWE like turns like 2 weeks into like their run, they do a turn on each other, like the put together tag teams. I hope they don't do that, and if they don't do that, because I think they have something on their hands here, then I feel like that Lee and Strickland are winning this match, and I think it's gonna be a fun, like just great like tag team match. So my prediction is Lee and Strickland winning this match.
Yeah, maybe. Because there's something I want to keep in mind while I'm reviewing all of these matches today, right? This is a joint event between New Japan and AEW. Joint, which means both fandoms are going to be watching this.
Yeah.
We're coming at it from the AEW point of view because that's what we watch every week. That's what we're reviewing every week. There are New Japan fans that will be watching this as well. Some of these matches have to go to the New Japan guy, right? And I mean, there's a couple obvious examples that we will get to, but some of these matches have to get there. And I think that Swerve and Keith Lee Now, they love their slow burns. First of all, this is going to be a phenomenal match. I'm really looking forward to it. I think that El Desperado and Yoshinobu Kanemaru are very good. It's going to be interesting. We got to see El Desperado in that match the other day on Dynamite, I believe it was.
Mhm.
And Swerve Strickland and Keith Lee, phenomenal tag
Agreed.
team. They have won me over, which is not always easy to do. I think this is going to be really good, but I think it could be a dark horse New Japan victory. So I'm actually going to go opposite of you again and say that there's going to be enough tension between Strickland and Lee. They're going to get mixed up a little bit, and that will allow Suzuki-gun to take the victory. To win.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with the opposite side again. By the way, I'm usually 0-20 on pay-per-view, so yeah. So that's that match. Up next, we have the Bullet Club, which is the Young Bucks, Hikuleo, and El Fantasmo, taking on Darby Allin, Sting, and Los Ingobernables de Japan, Shingo Takagi, and Hiromu Takahashi.
So again, it's really hard to bet against the Elite, and I'm gonna always follow what my saying is. I never bet against the Young Bucks, never bet against the Elite. So I'm gonna choose the Young Bucks on this match, and their tag team partner. So I'm gonna choose the Bullet Club here. Now, where do they go with this? Like, I kind of feel like the fans are gonna pop for Sting. Like, I think New Japan and AEW, I think, are gonna have a huge pop for the legend who is Sting, right? Darby Allin's there. Like, people absolutely love Darby Allin. I love him. I think he's an absolute crazy person, but I love Darby Allin. The other two, I don't know much about. So that's why, I think the match is going to be good. You can't have a bad match with the Young Bucks. Let's be honest here. I don't think this is going to be the match of the night, to be completely honest with you. But I could be wrong. I actually am hoping that I'm wrong with that. But as I said, I think the winners are going to be the Bullet Club. I don't see the Bullet Club coming in here and losing at the first Forbidden Door pay-per-view, right? Because that way you're like, wait, we have a stable that's a well-known stable in the Bullet Club. I think Darby Allin named his stable as well. I think there was a name he threw out there for his stable.
Oh, yeah?
But I'll look it up. But I strongly believe that it's going to be, the winners are going to be the Bullet Club. What do you think?
In this case, we're in complete agreement. I am not going to bet against the Elite. I'm not going to bet against the Bucks. They are going to win this match. I think they're going to win this match too, because it's going to be the kind of match or the kind of night that Jay White's going to be able to take back to New Japan and brag about for the Bullet Club. Being the Bullet Club's current leader, right? So I think that the Bucks, the other members of the Bullet Club, are going to take it to them. How they're going to win, I don't know. I think it's just going to be a really good match. I think there's going to be a lot of good spots in it. Sting, of course, is going to get his moments. He's impressing the heck out of me for a guy over 60.
Mm-hmm.
Shingo Takagi and Hiromu Takahashi, they can go. So this is going to be good. We will see what happens. But I'm pretty confident the Bullet Club will win. I think you are correct, sir.
Okay.
I'd be interested in hearing that Darby Allin stable name too.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. I swear, I made this up, and maybe I dreamt this, but I swear, like, it was something. It's a really weird name, like the Cool Guys or something like that.
Oh yeah.
But I swear, I thought I heard that they were they had a name.
I think I have seen a name attached to it somewhere for this match. There's a group of them, and there was some name. I just looked at it. I don't know what the heck that is. There's these guys. But yeah, no, that's interesting.
Yeah, sorry, I got it.
What is it?
I was close, but very far away. It's called the Dudes with Attitudes. That's their name.
Seriously?
I'm dead serious. I knew it was something like ridiculous. It's the Bullet Club versus the Dudes with Attitudes.
Catchphrase.
I just found it. I'm like, there they are. I knew I saw it somewhere.
Nice. Yeah, that's great, Darby. That's great. Way to see. Sometimes I think to myself, maybe AEW should have a couple writers on staff just so that so
they nix some of these things.
Yeah, exactly. The Dudes with attitude. Okay, now the Bullet Club is really winning, because there's no way they're going to lose to a bunch of people called the Dudes with attitudes. So
agreed.
Yeah, 100% Bullet Club all the way. Then we have Zack Sabre Jr. is taking on Bryan Danielson's mystery opponent.
Yeah, and I think everyone now is coming out and kind of saying, okay, the consensus is it's probably going to be Cesaro or and what's his name? His real name is, I can't
Claudio
remember.
Castiglione.
Castiglione, whatever. Right. That's the consensus. Cesaro in the Blackpool Combat Club, pretty cool. Like, I mean, that kind of is a good stable for him to be part of. I've never seen a Zack Sabre Jr. match, so I'm gonna be completely honest. I don't know how good he is. I've obviously seen Cesaro matches, and as I've always said, Cesaro is pound for pound the strongest wrestler I've ever seen. That's right. I even say it's stronger than John Cena, right? So for this match, I can see now this one's hard because how do you have a new person come in and lose their first match? Like now I'm booking like an actual wrestling booker, right? How do you have someone come in, unless your name's like Leo Rush or someone bad, you come in and lose your first match? You're gonna be AEW's new signee, right? That means you have a contract with AEW. So my prediction is whoever it is coming out as part of the new Blackpool Combat Club is going to beat Zack Sabre Jr. at the pay-per-view.
That's going to be a tough one. I mean, Zack Sabre Jr. will be able to rely on the excuse of, I wasn't ready for this guy.
Yep.
Zack Sabre Jr. is an incredible technical wrestler. Incredible. I have seen him wrestle. Him against Bryan Danielson is like a wet dream of wrestling matches. The idea of Claudio Castiglione wrestling him is really appealing. Zack Sabre Jr. is a submission specialist. Okay, technical wrestler, mat specialist, submission specialist. You may or may not like him. It's not going to be a bunch of high-flying flips around the ring. It's going to be wrestling, which I absolutely love matches like that too, right? I mean, I love the high-flying flip stuff. I love good technical wrestling matches. So, and Cesaro, Claudio, is 100% capable of doing a match like that. He has fought Bryan Danielson many times in the past in the ring, and they've had some amazing matches. So what do I think is going to happen? I'm torn because I think it is okay to beat him. I think that Zack Sabre Jr. could legitimately win this match, even against a debut, if the debut has an absolutely amazing showing, right? Or we get a time limit draw.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think about time limit draws, to be honest with you.
But that would also take up a huge chunk of the pay-per-view's time. And this isn't, so it might be difficult to put a time limit draw on in the middle of a pay-per-view, as opposed to, say, the main event or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to make a choice again, aren't I? You know, I'm just to be different. Whoever that mystery opponent is, Zack Sabre Jr. is winning.
Okay. All right.
Yep. And that takes us to Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, and Minoru Suzuki versus Eddie Kingston, Wheeler Yuta, and Shota Umino. By the way, the interesting part of this is it's basically Eddie and the kids. Both Wheeler Yuta and Shota Umino are 25 years old.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yep.
So Eddie and the kids versus Jericho, Sammy, and keep forgetting the person's name.
Minoru Suzuki. Yes, Suzuki and Jericho Suzuki, and their kid.
Yeah. This match, I think this match is going to be good. Again, as I said, I gave Chris Jericho a lot of credit for his previous match a couple weeks back. Sammy Guevara is fantastic. I mean, this kid, like, he's got so much potential, and he's just uses it. Suzuki, obviously, like, everyone loves him. Like, I like him. I think he's cool, right? Everyone loves him because he's like that hardcore specialist kind of wrestler. Who do I think is going to win this? I feel like it's actually going to be Kingston and his group, right? Because it's Kingston and the New Japan guys versus Sammy and Jericho and Minoru. They have, if they lose, they nothing happens to them. Like, right? If they lose, it's nothing, right? So I have a feeling it's going to be Kingston and his crew.
First of all, we know how good Wheeler Yuta is.
Yep.
Shota Umino wrestled very recently in a apparently very good match with Will Ospreay.
Okay.
And he's a young guy, apparently quite agile. So It might be a very interesting match. Eddie Kingston going up against Minoru Suzuki. Well, the other two are up against the others, right? I think it could get really, really interesting. I think we could have a really good match. This might be a dark horse sleeper for, a top three match. It's not going to be match of the night, but I think it could turn out being a lot better than we think,
Okay,
right?
okay,
I think
fair.
but again, I think that's because of storytelling elements in it as well. It's not going to be the world. I don't think it's going to set the world on fire with athleticism. So we shall see. I'm gonna go. I'm agreeing with you. I think it's Eddie Kingston is due. He needs to get a little bit of revenge on Chris Jericho, and Wheeler Yuta, Shota Umino. They're great. I think that they're gonna pull it out too. And like you said, the loss isn't gonna hurt Jericho, Guevara,
No,
and Suzuki at
no.
all. So I think this is where we're gonna get Eddie Kingston, and it's also gonna be like one of the New Japan guys can get a win against one of the most hated heels in New Japan in Minoru Suzuki. So that takes us to the winner takes all, except the AEW title. ROH World Tag Team Championship and the IWGP Tag Team Championship are on the line, with FTR versus United Empire, Great O'Khan and Jeff Cobb representing, and Roppongi Vice, Trent Beretta and Rocky Romero.
So I made a fantasy booking before Kenny had obviously made his interview and stuff like that, and I had said that my prediction was going to be that the Golden Lovers were going to reunite, show up, and take all the belts. That's what I said. They're going to take all of the belts, right? Because hey, if you think about it, that would be a New Japan guy and a AEW guy taking all the New Japan and AEW belts. But obviously, as we said, like, the AEW championship is not on the line because the Bucks have that one, right? So this match, because the Ring of Honor championship and the New Japan World Tag Team Championships, such as I call them, this one, I feel like I wouldn't be surprised. Now, I love FDR. I really want them to win everything. I really do. But I wouldn't be surprised if Trent and Rocky were the dark horses here and they won it. Because again, the same thing as I said with Kota and Kenny. You have one New Japan guy, you have one AEW guy, and they take all the belts. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say Trent and Rocky are going to win this one.
Yep, you are not out on a very far limb, because I completely agree with you. We are going to see Roppongi Vice take the belts. They're a great representative for both companies. They both fit very well. They're both great wrestlers. I'd be excited to see them. This match, let's talk about this match for a second, though. The three tag teams we've got in there. Wow. So I
Yeah.
think that we're going to see a phenomenal wrestling match here too. I could easily see this as being one of the top three matches of the night as well.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be match of the night, but it's going to go top three for sure. And I completely agree with you. Roppongi Vice is taking the belts, because I think it's their time to shine in all these different leagues. ROH, New Japan here. They just seem to be at the top of their game right now. This newly reunited Roppongi Vice. Whatever happened to the other guy in the Best Friends?
Oh, you mean Trent and what is his name?
The other guy, the one who was cutting their pictures out of the the shirt on being the Elite.
He has to be injured. That's the only thing I can think of.
Or he's been Kip Sabian. Who knows?
Oh my god, I know. Like, I can't believe it. Yeah, no, I don't know.
And that takes us to the AEW Women's World Championship. Thunder Rosa, the champion, versus Toni Storm.
Well, I'm hoping for a good showing. I don't think Toni Storm is winning. I think it's too early for Thunder Rosa to lose her belt. So I'm going to call it as Thunder Rosa wins, but Toni Storm puts on a valiant effort to win. But yeah, this is the match where I hate to say it, but I'm just not interested in, right? I do want a women wrestling in the pay-per-view. I think that, like, there are tons of great women wrestlers. I'm just not excited for this match. I don't care about this match. The buildup has been bland. Like, I just don't care about this match. And honestly, I'm hoping that I'm proven wrong. And I'm like, you know what? This match is pretty goddamn awesome. But yeah, I don't care. And I really do think that Thunder Rosa is going to retain.
I agree with you. Thunder Rosa's retaining. She's not losing the belt to Toni Storm. She just got the belt. I can't see it being just like a carryover title reign, but I'm so uninterested in this match. I'm going to talk about what should have been.
Okay, let's hear.
New Japan The company that owns them also recently acquired Stardom, which is a female wrestling company. New Japan now does shows sometimes with Stardom. There is no reason why we couldn't have got a Stardom wrestler
That's true.
to fight Thunder Rosa. Do you know who they have right now in
True.
Stardom? Kairi Sane.
Oh,
Okay, when she left WWE and went back, she works for Stardom now. Could you imagine Thunder Rosa versus Kairi Sane? How much more interested would you be in that match?
a lot more interested. You know, at this point, like who knows? Maybe they make it a triple threat. Maybe there's a mystery announcement, right?
There won't be. They're done. It's
Oh.
Tony Storm versus. So there's not going to be any mystery announcements. There's not going to be any extra.
But there's no
opponent.
Forbidden Door with that one. There's nothing. Like
Right.
the whole point of the Forbidden Door pay-per-view is to have AEW and New Japan have wrestlers in here. So to just throw on a match that has no wrestler from New Japan wrestling in it, it's kind of nonsensical.
Although technically not from New Japan because
but technically Japan altogether.
Yes.
Let's be real here, right?
Yep.
So to have this, it's kind of like, okay, this doesn't even make sense being on the card. So I don't know. Like I'm hoping there's a correction tomorrow, right? Sorry, Sunday. But yeah, you're right. Like this match doesn't make any sense.
This will be when we get a couple bonus slices of pizza or something like that.
Well, this is where it's kind of like, you know, if you weren't going to respect the card, then why even put this match on here? Have it in the blood and guts. What's the big deal?
Precisely. I'd be far more interested in a Thunder Rosa Tony Storm hardcore match.
Yeah. Like anyways,
let's see what Tony Storm can do. Anyway.
Yeah.
So next up, we have the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship. Will Ospreay as the champion versus Orange Cassidy, freshly squeezed.
This match has the potential to be match of the night. Now, oh man, do I just name it match of the night right now? Oh, you know what? I'm gonna go match of the night for this one. Just because of Will Ospreay, right? You know, again, as I said, Will Ospreay has quickly become my second favorite wrestler, and I just love the things he can do. Orange Cassidy can go as well. My kind of match is going to be so many reversals, so many high flying maneuvers and everything. Will Ospreay is not losing this match. Will Ospreay is 100% winning this match. I'm going to go on a limb here and say this is going to be probably one of the best matches of the night. And it's going to be my predicted match of the night.
You are absolutely correct about the winner. It's going to be Will Ospreay. I am choosing a different match of the night.
Okay.
I think this could be the match of the night. I could be proven completely wrong. I love Will Ospreay. I love Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy is in my top 5 wrestlers. I just love the guy. He can go in the ring and his gimmick is just, it's one of my favorite gimmicks of all time. I absolutely adore it. So yeah, this match, I mean, that little bit that we saw on Dynamite this week, I've gone back and watched it multiple times. And these two guys, that was just insane. So we are going to get some insane wrestling here. I think what's going to detract from it being a potential match of the night is I'm never going to feel like Ospreay's in danger. I'm never going to feel like Orange Cassidy stands a chance of winning this belt. Every near fall, I'll be like, that's going to be a near fall. Doesn't matter what Orange Cassidy does to him, I'm going to be like, nope, not happening. You know, extremely good match. The athleticism is going to be insane, but it's going to be missing that vital story element you need in any championship match, which is the outcome needs to be in doubt. If the outcome's not in doubt and the belt can't change hands, it detracts from the match for me. Because immediately it's like, oh, well, the part of the excitement of building up to the end is the near falls. Right? You build up to those near falls at the end. Well, they're not going to matter because we know Orange Cassidy is not winning this match.
Well, I wonder how it's going to be though, right? I mean, I wonder if this is actually going to be a clean finish or not, because I wonder now that Orange Cassidy's back, if there are feuds that need to be set up now for Orange Cassidy to be in, right? And who is going to challenge Orange Cassidy? Who has a grudge against Orange Cassidy besides everyone who takes everything seriously? I don't want it to be a finish like that, but I don't know. I really don't know.
Ooh, yeah, shenanigan finishes on this match? No, thank you. I actually get a sneaking, I've said this before, New Japan pay-per-views tend to be pretty clean. Not perfectly, but tend to be pretty clean. When you get to the pay-per-view level, you're going to get the match. And I think that's what we're going to get here. I think that these two guys want to put on a good match. I hope you're not right about the shenanigan part. I think that Orange Cassidy has plenty of time on Dynamite and Rampage to build up a new feud. It doesn't need to happen here. This just needs to be what it is. A match between Orange Cassidy and Will Ospreay for that belt. Period. I don't need any other setup or build for it. I just want a phenomenal match. I think this will be the number 2 match of the night.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep. Next up, we have the interim AEW World Championship, Jon Moxley versus Hiroshi Tanahashi, which is probably going to be the main event on the show.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm still not hyped for this match, to be completely honest. It's going to be, I think, good. I think this is the one where I'm a little confused on who's going to win it. I kind of feel that if Tanahashi wins, I will be shocked, because you're right, it does set up a Tanahashi versus Punk like eventual match. But as Kenny stated, these Forbidden Door events will happen again, right? And I think it's a great story to tell that Jon Moxley, after losing his belt, going through everything he's gone through, coming back and now fighting for the championship, I think this story kind of writes itself. Like it would be a huge pop for his fans. So I kind of feel like Jon Moxley is going to walk away with his championship.
Quite possibly. And I'm going to agree with you, but I'm going to tentatively agree with you, because after we review the next match, I'm going to give you a tentative flipping. Okay. But anyway, I honestly think if I had to go 85% chance, Jon Moxley is winning this match, so I'm going to go with Jon Moxley. I think that he's a good choice for it. You're right, everything he's been through. I think this match is going to be better than we think. Okay. But then again, I'm also a guy who loves a good story in the ring, right? And I think these two guys are going to put on a hell of a story in the ring, and I think it's going to be a classic match. Is it going to be match of the night? No. Am I going to enjoy the hell out of it? Absolutely. Right. So I've seen what Hiroshi Tanahashi did with Kenny Omega just a few years ago. Like, we're not talking a long time ago. We're just talking a few years ago, right? Like, what, 3, 4? I can't remember exactly which Wrestle Kingdom it was, but that match was insane. And, Tanahashi hasn't suddenly aged to that point. I mean, Jon Moxley's not Kenny Omega, but he has his own style and his own story. And although I don't always love his matches, I respect his ability to tell a story in the ring. And I think working with Tanahashi, the same way when Mox works with Kenny Omega, I think working with a guy that has that ability in the ring, like a Tanahashi or an Omega or, a Bret Hart, people like that who can do such fundamentally good in-ring storytelling, I think that elevates a match. So I expect to see a really good and probably pretty long match between these two guys. So looking forward to it. Mox is going to win provisionally. And that brings us to the last match of the night. The IWGP Heavyweight Championship, Jay White, Switchblade Jay White representing the Bullet Club as champion, Hangman Adam Page, Kazuchika Okada, and Adam Cole.
I love the way Hangman wrestles now. And I've made that clear for the past couple of weeks. I love Hangman wrestling. Okada, again, yes, I've seen Okada versus Omega. That's a great match. Again, Omega. I'm going to point out Omega here, okay? Adam Cole, I like the way he wrestles. I like it. But it's still not my cup of tea for wrestling. I just like the way he wrestles. It's clean, efficient. He does moves, so it's great. Tell stories. Switchblade, I haven't seen him in a lot, and that's the problem. I haven't seen him in a lot of matches. I've seen him in a couple here and there, so that's why I really was torn on this one, thinking that maybe this might be match of the night. But I'm also going to stick with my original answer, which was Orange Cassidy versus Will Ospreay, just because I just don't want to bet against Will Ospreay. With this one, I think it's going to be a good match. I highly doubt that belt is changing hands. I don't think this belt is changing hands. Now, I know why you said, obviously, provisionally, you're saying that Mox is winning that match, right?
Yep.
But my guess is that you're thinking that if anyone but what's his name, Switchblade, Jay White wins, let's say Adam Cole wins, right?
Yep.
Then you're thinking that Tanahashi's going to win. And again, as I said, I think Jay White's winning this belt. I don't see anyone else, or maybe they switch it up. Maybe I think it's gonna be Jay White or Okada. but I don't think AEW is winning this belt. I think it's gonna be one of the New Japan guys. In fact, again, if I'm gonna guess, it's gonna be Jay White. He just won the belt what last week, right? Was it a week ago, 2 weeks ago, right?
It
He's
was
not
recent.
losing. Yeah, he's not losing this belt right now. So my prediction is Jay White walks out champion.
I would say I would 85% agree with you. I say there's an 85%
85%
chance Jay
chance.
White is walking out with his belt. So that's my official prediction. Jay White is going to win this match. Mox wins the AEW title. Jay White retains the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Great. And all is right in the kingdoms of New Japan and AEW, right? And this is my match of the night. You
Okay.
cannot put these four guys in a ring and not have it be utterly, utterly spectacular. Is it going to be quite as athletic as a Will Ospreay versus Orange Cassidy match? No. But you know what these four guys have? They have what Kenny Omega would say are ring smarts. All four of these guys are at that level that can take it with the person. We've seen Hangman develop over the last few years to the point where you and I are both singing this guy's praises now,
Mm-hmm.
right? Great in the ring. He's so much better on the mic. Kazuchika Okada is just insane. Okay, insanely good in the ring. Adam Cole, you know, I love the guy, right? One of my favorite wrestlers. Like I love the way he wrestles in the ring. Even if he's a little slower than some of the guys, his style to me is just so good. He puts on some really, really high quality matches. Jay White, I have so much respect for this guy now. I agree with Kenny Omega. He has upped his game to this point. These four guys are going to put on one of the most insane four-way matches we've ever seen. That's my prediction. And it's going to be my match of the night. Match of the night. Jay White's going to retain. Now, let me give you my alternate version. Adam Cole wins, and it's been set up this way. Jay White scorning him. You can't beat me because you can't even beat him. You lost to him twice, right? So Adam Cole ends up pulling this out, whether it's by nefarious means or whether it's just a straight up win because he manages to, like, Okada hits him with a finisher, Cole takes a belt, knocks out Okada, whatever, and pins Jay White. However it goes down, Adam Cole walks away with the belt. And on the flip side, Hiroshi Tanahashi wins the AEW title. Now you have a situation where each other's titles are in the wrong company. And I think that in itself is intriguing. So you've got the IWGP Heavyweight Championship being fought for essentially on AEW television, and you've got the AEW World Championship over there. And at some point, each side has to send their people back. So it sets up a scenario for another pay-per-view later in the year if they want to do it. So I think that's an interesting possibility. Do I really think it's going to happen? Well, I told you already, 85% chance at least that is not happening. But I think it would be kind of fun if it did.
I think it would be fun. I think that would be different if it happens. I think we're gonna know if Tanahashi if the card is the way it is, where Tanahashi and Mox fight, and then the four-way happens, or vice versa. Depending on who wins those matches, we know what the prediction what's gonna happen in the next match. I don't see one company winning both the belts, right? So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be very interesting.
Well, we don't know what kind of agreement they have, right?
That's true.
Like this will also be worked out between the big wigs at New Japan and AEW. It's not like this is the kind of thing that the wrestlers could just go in and say, you know, we think it would be cool if.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, there's going to have to be enough deference given to New Japan and enough deference given to AEW that both sides come out of this being able to go back to their respective weekly and monthly programming and go, hey, I mean, we got the G1 coming up in New Japan in the coming month, right? So that's a huge, and there are AEW guys in it. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. We will see what happens with this. And that's the show. So we have different matches of the night and some very different predictions. It's going to be very interesting finding out what happens on Sunday night.
It is. It definitely is. I'm excited. I can't wait to see what happens. I'm hoping for a few surprises. I'm hoping for some shockers. But we're gonna see.
Yep, absolutely. And I would just like to point out something that Jon Moxley said too during his interview, where he talked about the term Forbidden Door. And he said, you know, we have agreements with all these people now. We work with all of these people. None of these doors are forbidden. The term is ridiculous. Because there is only one forbidden door left.
Oh,
Right. So yeah, that was a very interesting comment anyway.
cool.
So I guess with that, normally we would say, we're going to go watch the show and be back, but it's going to be a little bit of time. So
Hmm.
we are recording this show on Friday. Things could change before the pay-per-view on Sunday, and we will of course update you when we come back. But for now, it is time for me to say, as the great one always says, goodbye everybody, and good night. Bang.
Bye, everyone.